Welcome back, citizens! Caroline here. You may remember that the 10th Amendment created the system of federalism, in which the federal government shares power with the states. To recap, the separation of power provided by federalism gives state governments the right to make laws about topics not addressed in the U.S. Constitution. But the Constitution specifically delegates many powers to the federal government, and it's those powers that we're going to look at today. Our objectives today are to summarize the delegated powers and responsibilities of the U.S. government. We will finish by explaining why the federal government has those powers. Are you ready? Articles 1 and 2 of the U.S. Constitution each mentions the U.S. military delegating power to two branches. Article 1, which describes the powers of the legislative branch, says it is the job of Congress to declare war, raise and support armies, provide and maintain a navy, make rules for the regulation of land and naval forces, and to organize and arm the militia. In a nutshell, Congress has the power to declare war, set the budget, and make regulations for all U.S. military forces. And in Article 2, it states that the President shall be the Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy and of the militia, which today is part-time soldiers such as the National Guard. This maintains the system of checks and balances. Included in the modern armed forces are other branches of the military, the Marine Corps and the Air Force, as well as the Coast Guard and Space Force. Military bases can be found across the United States and even around the globe, strategically placed for a strong defense, quick mobilization, and efficient training. One of the primary duties of the executive branch is to conduct foreign policy. It's common to see the president meeting with leaders of other nations. It's actually stated in Article 2 of the Constitution that the president is to make treaties with and appoint ambassadors to other nations. To maintain the system of checks and balances, Congress must approve both the treaties and the nominations of those ambassadors. And it is the legislative branch's job to regulate commerce with foreign nations. This is done partly through tariffs, which is a tax on imports, and excise taxes, which are directed at specific goods, such as luxury items, many of which are imported. Also, Congress approves trade agreements, which helps shape foreign policy. Finally, legislators establish rules for naturalization for immigrants who wish to become U.S. citizens. This means they set guidelines for the national citizenship test and the length of time an immigrant must live in the U.S. before becoming a citizen. Another power of the legislative branch, as stated by the Constitution, is to coin money for all 50 states. This gives Congress the responsibility to print and coin money that people across all 50 states can use. That way, trade can happen more easily between people across the country. The Department of the Treasury decides the appearance and denominations to be printed, and efforts have been made in recent years to make paper money harder to counterfeit. It's worth mentioning that money isn't actually paper. It's cotton and linen with a polyester security strip, designed to deter potential forgeries, one of the jobs of the legislative branch. The Constitution delegates several other powers to the federal government as well. Those include establishing a standard system of weights and measures. Our nation currently uses measurements such as miles and pounds. Congress has the power to have us switch to the metric system used by most of the world. Regulating trade between states is a congressional responsibility. They also must maintain equality and show no favoritism in economic matters. Establishing and maintaining post offices, as well as control of the mail, falls to the legislative branch. Regulating copyrights and patents of inventions and ideas. This legislative power protects those who come up with new technology or artistic products. And of course, admitting new states to the Union and governing territories such as Puerto Rico. Section 8 of Article 1, the Constitution states that Congress shall make all laws which shall be necessary and proper to cover the duties laid out in the Constitution. And while that may sound contradictory to the 10th Amendment, it empowers the federal government to take charge of many tasks. Those include the creation of and responsibility for agencies such as the Federal Aviation Administration, which monitors and ensures safe air travel; the Food and Drug Administration, which approves medications and sets safe standards for food products; the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, which protects animal species, especially those that are endangered; the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, a law enforcement agency that investigates and prevents federal offenses involving those items; and organizations such as the National Institute of Health and the Center for Disease Control, which conduct research and studies causes and potential cures for diseases and illnesses. The list of federal agencies goes on, meaning so does government oversight and protection of citizens. To understand why the federal government is in charge of so many things and seemingly has so much power, let's start by taking another look at some of the money printed by the U.S. There, on $1 bills and most U.S. coins, are the words e pluribus unum, a Latin phrase that when translated means out of many, one. The phrase dates back to the time of the Revolutionary War and the Declaration of Independence, when 13 independent colonies found strength in each other and their unity. A united military is much stronger than any 50 state militaries could ever hope to be. Foreign policy in dealing with other nations is unified, giving strength to the U.S. and avoiding a situation in which states with different interests could navigate world affairs on their own. Even the dollar is stronger at the federal level, giving consistency to the American economy and enabling smooth interstate commerce. And can you imagine traveling across the U.S. and having to stop to change out money at each border? Yuck! Allowing each state to handle these tasks separately would be more like a confederation of 50 different loosely connected states. But doing them together unites us as a country, and just works a whole lot better. The constitutional powers delegated by the Founding Fathers to the federal government are both vast and necessary. They provide the United States with strength and unity in areas in which it is needed. As we move forward with our look at federalism, keep an eye out for powers delegated to each level of government and why. Until next time, good citizens, continue to vote, debate, and participate, and remember to always be clever.
Hey, hey.